Her Journey to Healing, Reaching Women with a Desperate Cry is an 8-week Zoom seminar in which Kamala and Winston help women to start living their best life by rediscovering the image of God in their life. Kamala, a licensed marriage and family therapist, joins her husband of 16 years, an ordained pastor, to marry the clinical and the spiritual. You will begin living your best life filled with love, joy, and peace. Register at kwministries.net for this life-changing seminar.
So anxious resistant. So remember there were 4 categories, right?
Mm-hmm.
So anxious resistant kids were on the opposite end of the spectrum. They didn't have a lot of self-confidence. They really clung to their caregivers, whether it's parents. When I say caregivers, I mean parents, grandparents, just old people in their lives who were, really part of that initial bonding experience. For these kids, they tended to have really exaggerated emotional reactions to stuff, but they also kept the distance from their peers. How did this translate into adulthood? That translated into anxious, preoccupied adults. Mm-hmm. And so they kind of formed less secure bonds with partners and feel really desperate for love and affection.
God is patient. God is kind. God is long-suffering. God never fails. God always hopes. God always trusts. God always perseveres. God doesn't envy. God doesn't boast. God doesn't seek his own, but is always seeking what's best for you. God rejoices in the truth.
That's right.
God doesn't define love. God demonstrates love.
There's a commercial that used to say, "Don't leave home without it." I think it was MasterCard. And at the end, they would say, "You couldn't put a price on it. A price could not be put on what you and your wife did for me this week." And I'm just praying that your ministry will continue to be the blessing to others as it has been to me this week. Just the opening of the eyes, just seeing God's word with a whole different set of lenses, just understanding what is required of us, and laying aside the misnomers, the erroneous teachings, the errors, and just accepting who I am in Christ. And no one else could tell me who I am but the Word.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you for hanging out with us all week long.
Thank you for being there with us. in their meeting with us, we were allowed to take a good look at ourselves. We were reminded that we are made in the image and the likeness of God. And if that is true, there's some things we have to change that we've been thinking all along. We were given a whole new set of lenses with which to see the Word of God when we read it with a desire to understand what that love letter is all about. We were allowed to put ourselves, not talk about somebody else, like the sermon wasn't for this one or that one, but it was for us. We have gained such growth this week. I have gained such growth this week. My eyes have been opened. And God also used the tailors to help me to see the things that have been happening in my life were His call on my life to be a better person, to be more caring, more loving, more compassionate. Have you written a letter to yourself yet? We did that this week. We wrote a love letter to ourselves. And we weren't afraid to call ourselves beautiful because we are made in the image and the likeness of God. Amen. I pray that everyone here had an opportunity at least one night to have joined with the tailors to begin that new journey. You ever been in a race and you're running and you see the end inside? We're at that place. The end is inside. But there's some things we need to correct. There's some erroneous information we've carried for a while, and so much so it has been inculcated in our spirits. But we saw this week it's okay to let go of that. And it is now time for us to see what God intends for us. What we need to chase after is love. Not houses, not cars, not clothes, not food. God said in Matthew 6:33, He'll provide all of that. So this week, our hearts have been opened to receive God as He desired to be received by us. And we want to say thank you to the tailors for this.
I created the Sickle Cell Coloring Book for Kids because just like you, I was worried about my child's sickle cell diagnosis. I had so many questions that I needed answered. This coloring book answers how sickle cell affects the body. It shares terms that will help you understand what's going on so you will be empowered.
evening.
Welcome back to Monday Night Live.
We're so excited to be here with you. We are really, really, really happy to Monday Black Day.
It has been. But I do want to say, gosh, look, Roxanne, Christine, Hilbert,
You started being on YouTube also. So thank you very much for being on. Now tonight's gonna be a little bit rocky. We're not in our normal studios plugged up with Ethernet, but just hang in there with us tonight, and we'll be there. We have a wonderful guest tonight.
Yes, we do.
Wait, before we talk about guests, where are we?
We are in Shreveport, Louisiana.
Shreveport, Louisiana. Beautiful place. Really, 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 really beautiful place. Really nice people. We were just introduced this week to our brand new church district, the Coshada Seventh-day Adventist Church, the Memorial Seventh-day Adventist Church, and the Cedar Grove Seventh-day Adventist Church. Some wonderful people. Did you have a wonderful time?
I did. I had a wonderful is not quite the word.
Spiritual.
Splendid, spiritual, inspired. It was a great time.
My favorite part, one of my favorite parts was when I pulled up and I saw that big old sign saying welcome. I've never felt so welcome in my life. We're excited about our new church family. We miss Mount Zion Seventh-day Adventist Church. Mount Zion was so great to us. We've taken from Mount Zion lifelong friends, Cece and other folk. We've taken lifelong friends. Absolutely. And we're so grateful to God for that experience. We have a wonderful guest tonight.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about who we have on.
All right. Well, so this idea of the other person, the way we treat other people has been, a really, really big thing on my mind. And I was looking for someone that we could talk to about that. And I thought the best person to talk to about that conversation would be a human geographer, someone who studies geography from a human perspective. And no other person could come to my mind except Dr. Nichole Bignall.
Absolutely.
And in full disclosure, it's my big sister. She's extremely smart. She's married to one of the smartest men I know, Wes Bignall. They have two amazing daughters, two really, really great daughters. I want to say this about their older daughter. I met her when she was about 4 years old.
Yes.
And I looked at that child and I said, "You're going to be a genius." And so said, so done. Beisha is just one of the smartest people I know. Stacey is a great, wonderful, smart, feisty, lovely person. Just a wonderful family. So I'm really excited to have her. If we can bring her in so we can get into this discussion, I would be so grateful. Welcome, Dr. Bignall. Thank you so very much for being here tonight. There she is, looking all professorial. There she is. Hey, Doc, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
I'm doing well.
Yes, indeed.
How is the weather? You always asking me every time you and I talk. You're always asking me, how's the weather? You go out to laugh at me. So let's try this tonight. Are you ready? Let's try this tonight. How is the weather?
Well, the weather is not what we want it to be right now, but we're thanking God for it anyway.
What is it?
Last night was a little cooler than last couple nights been in like the 30s, 40s. So yeah, we were expecting that the day would warm up earlier, but we're dealing with it. It's April and we're still having winter weather.
Temperature we're having?
Pardon me?
Would you like to know what temperature we're having?
Go ahead.
Today was 80 degrees. You want to laugh at me now?
Woo! That's okay. You're already in the summer.
We are so excited to have you on. You look so beautiful, Doc. Thank you so very much for being willing to talk to us and spend this time with us. We want to just have a nice discussion on the other person. So first thing I want to ask you is, well, we're going to ask you, tell us a little bit about yourself and how did you get into geography? What made you like geography?
Well, I guess you can say it started when I was in elementary school. It was the subject that just interested me, places, people, traveling around Jamaica when I was younger. I could remember the directions. You know, um, it was just something that I enjoyed doing. I enjoyed learning about new places, new people, different people. I just always wanted to be exposed to that type of knowledge.
And so, at a young age, you found geography in what can you remember? Because it was a young age. Can you remember what got you so interested?
But like I said, while we were in Jamaica, we would drive around to different places. We would go to the beach. We lived up in the mountains, so going to the beach was a really big deal, and
Right.
just the excitement of changing place,
Mm-hmm.
mountains to coastline and going back
Mm-hmm.
to the mountains, the heat in the city, and then feeling the coolness of the mountain, those things stayed in my mind and my memory.
Wow.
So when I started
Wow.
hearing and learning and understanding that this was important to understand
Mm-hmm.
the value of place,
Mm-hmm.
everything started coming together. But I will tell you, my mom, said she hated geography in school and she just could not
And
understand.
she's a teacher.
Yes, she was. Yes, she was a teacher. And she said she felt that maybe it was just because she didn't have the right teacher, because
Mm-hmm.
now that she's older, she enjoys learning about new places and people, that she has time for. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just something I've always loved.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So my question to you, Doc, is now you're a human geographer. And
Yes.
for those of us who are viewing who maybe are not as familiar with that terminology, tell us a little bit about what that means as we get ready to have this discussion about the other.
Well, I'll tell you, I'll start with the term geography. Geo meaning earth, and ology meaning to write about or to study about. So we're writing and studying about the earth, and specifically more the earth's surface. Um, there are two main branches of geography, and that's the physical and the human. And because a lot of people, most people in America really don't take geography into college level, that their geography will stop sometimes probably in middle school. That's it. They don't take any more geography classes. That when you hear the term geography, people will say, "Oh, you know all the capitals and all the all the names of the states."
Right, that's the assumption, right?
And then you
That's
go,
cool.
"Okay, here we go again." But physical geography will deal with the things like the erosion of the coastlines, understanding better climate changes, what's happening in the physical part of the world. Human geography, now we deal with how humans interact with their environment and how the environment affects humans. So I'll give you a little bit of my research. I dealt with non-farm proprietorship, which that's just a proxy for self-employment. And I wanted to know what variables affected or would influence having more self-employed people in a certain area. And you may ask, why is that important? Well, self-employment is part of what helps an economy to become more developed. So
Okay.
if you're in the city planning, you want to know, what variables are going to affect your city and who do you want to have in there to actually help your economy to grow.
And self-employment gives revenue. It's not depending, it's not taking from the city, it's adding to.
Exactly.
Sister Roosevelt Martin is trying to mouth me. She's saying it's 90 degrees in Florida.
She sure
As
does.
long as you have my room ready, ma'am, I'm cool. Okay, all right. All right. So, Doc, thanks for explaining that to us. Let me start here with the human interaction with the environment.
Okay.
I know we're talking about the other person, but let me just get this in there real quick. Explain to us where we are environmentally. Explain to, and I think this is very relevant, that because of 36 people just died from tornadoes. Last night there was a tornado that just went south of our hotel. We were, we didn't know what to do. We went downstairs trying to ask questions. I was actually in board meeting last night, and one of my board members were driving, and we're like, I have to get off this thing because we were on Zoom because this thing is coming at me. So, what's going on? Talk to us. What's going on?
Okay, well, I can give you the basics, okay? In terms of our climate is changing. The planet is warming. This is, it may sound as if it's something more recent that researchers have just, oh, wow, they've just figured this out. No, this has been known for many years.
We used to learn about the ozone layer.
Right. And now they're thinking, the ozone layer is kind of shrinking. We're not talking so much about ozone layer anymore. We, of course, it still affects the climate and stuff, but we're looking more at the planet itself warming, and there will be different effects, because I had started this research paper looking at which cities in the world would actually have more effect of rising sea levels would be affected. And I thought, oh, wow, it's going to be those poor countries along the coastlines, But when I realized just a little bit of research that I had done, it's more wealthy countries, because they have a lot of big cities right on the coast. And they have to think about that now. They're thinking about mitigating. What can they do to lessen the effects of a rising coastline? How can they build them?
So that what caused this? What is the human interaction with the environment that caused this?
Well, we can talk about the CO2s, the different chemicals that we have actually released in the environment. We have been using a lot of fossil fuels over the years, and we all have benefited from fossil fuels. Fossil fuels are allowing us to be online right now. But what we have come to realize is that there are consequences to putting, chemicals in the environment. And that's what's happening. Over the years, we've had this happen, and now we are seeing the effects of so many years of using fossil fuels.
Is there any hope?
Yes, there's always hope. There's always hope. Especially as Christians, we know that God is in charge, point blank. He's in charge. And he's allowed many scientists from different disciplines to be working on this, not just social scientists like geographers. There are many other people who are working. There are architects working on different designs for houses that can be built along the coast that can withstand a hurricane. There are just people thinking about how to make it more affordable, because right now it's very expensive, to build that type of a house. How to make it more affordable to help people, how to move people further in and keep them employed. So there are a lot of people working on different aspects of this. We just all need to, stay abreast of what's going on and do what we can individually, to help to mitigate it.
Last question. It's already 9:24. But last question on this idea is: you said do what we can. What are some practical things that we can do?
Well, here in North Carolina, there are not just here, but there are a lot of cities around the world that they're doing what called smart cities, where they're trying to have more cycling, getting people to use the bicycle, not necessarily driving. And if you notice, you'll see a lot more bike lanes, lots more bike lanes. Share the road, share the road. That's one thing. If you don't have to drive the car, if you can jump on that bicycle and ride down to your corner store or something, do it, because then you're cutting back on the use of the fossil fuels and such. So that's one particular thing you can do. Recycling has been a big thing. It's been questionable. Are we recycling? Well, if you can use products that you don't have to throw out all the time, you can reuse in your home. That works too, every little bit. I don't know if you remember the saying, every mickle make a muckle, that they would use in Jamaica.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's go into the other. Well, no, and I don't think it's a different conversation actually. Humans' interaction with the environment and human interaction with each other. Let's. Christine said, "Yep, she knows about every mickle make a muckle." Where are we as humans, and how are we interacting with each other, and where are we coming from? Maybe you want to start with where we're coming from.
Oh, start with where we're coming from. Well, we are a lot more globally connected today. You probably have heard the term globalization. It's always out there. Before, like let's say 200 years ago, you had to wait for messages to get from one town to another. Now we know what's going on in Japan like that. They know what's happening here. They hear about the tornadoes. They know right away, instantly. We are a lot more connected, and we've I think as humans we've also gotten to where we realize how similar we are and how different we are. And I think that's where you're going with the otherness. Depending on, I would say, what our personal motives are. We can look at similarities and be empowered by them. We can look at differences and be empowered by them. As a young child, I had a prayer. I prayed to the Lord and said, I would love to have a friend from every country in the world. And God has answered that. He keeps answering that prayer. He keeps answering that prayer. And I can say I've got a friend from Lithuania. I have one from Trinidad. I've got a number of them from Guyana. Of course, definitely Jamaica. I've got friends from, I'm currently a conversational English tutor with a Ukrainian student who is now a friend over a year now. Tanzania, Ghana, Nigeria, England. I've got friends from Alabama. I have friends from all over. One of my very good teaching colleague friend, love her. She is from Alabama. We went to school together. I've got my Roxanne. Just got friends from everywhere, and I'm blessed because I see our differences and I see our similarities, and I've come to have a greater respect for people who are not like me.
Well, let's slow down. Because this is gonna be good. But before we go there, come on. I think Kamal has a question.
My question is actually twofold. One, where did you get that desire from
to pray that prayer?
To pray that prayer. And then 2, as you've seen that prayer answered, what value and importance do you recognize coming from those relationships that are very diverse?
Which is what you were about to answer. But when you prayed that prayer, where did that come from?
Well, see, when you grow up in South Florida, you get to meet a lot of different people. Just go to the flea market and you're going to hear different languages. You're going to see different costumes. You're going to see different foods. And you're just, for me, it was like, ooh, let me try that. I want to wear that. Like I still can't wait to have an outfit from India. Okay. I'm still waiting to get myself one of those. Just a desire to know so many different people. We don't know how we're blessed here in America that you really don't have to travel outside of the US to meet somebody with a different cultural background.
Yes.
We are really blessed, because they have so much to offer, So the prayer came from going through school, getting into FSU, meeting new people, different people, and just thinking, wow, I would love to have friends from all over because it was just,
world, right.
Yeah. And what was the second part of that question, Kamala?
What value or importance do you now recognize in having those relationships that are so diverse?
I'm not so quick to judge.
Woo! Woo! Hold on. Hashtag, I'm not so quick to judge.
Yes. I try to listen more and think about if I was in that position, I love teaching, but I realize that learning is a whole lot more fun. Sorry. So just, if nothing else, I try not to pass judgment right off the back on folks because you miss out. You miss out because you can miss out on a friend, a good friend, just because, they're like this or they're like that. I'm not going to talk to them, So yeah, not so quick to judge.
And so she says 2 values is she's not so quick to judge, but then she said she gets to learn from other people. What are some of the lessons that you have learned? Just run us through before you go though, Doc. It's fun having friends all over because it's the best thing when you have someone to show you around when you travel there.
Yes.
Now, Cece's saying that coming right off of her trip to Asia. So, but Doc, share with us some of the different lessons that you've learned from other people.
I'm going to tell you, this may seem like a small lesson or something small, but I told you about my friend Amanda from Alabama. It was so interesting when we started talking because there were things that we had in common, like how we cooked, how we seasoned food, that I thought, wow, that's interesting. Just amazing how she would do certain things. We went to Thanksgiving dinner with her and I learned how to make dressing, instead of stuffing, because that's what I grew up with for Thanksgiving, was stuffing, but they make dressing, So whenever I talk to other friends and they're like, you know about dressing? Yes, I do. And I know the difference. So it's fascinating. Being Adventist, that we are big with haystacks. You know, we're the only ones that call it.
That's
Okay. I think they call it what? Mexican salad down in the Southwest. So when people hear you say haystacks and they don't look like you and they say haystacks, you know, they're more fair complexion, they're blonde hair, or they're dark jet black long hair, you know, they have an Asian background or something, and we all say haystacks, you know. So lessons that I've learned.
that's good.
What else have I learned?
We're frozen.
Definitely. I love the comment about traveling. I remember when I went to the Bahamas and I went to Nassau, and it didn't take us very long to drive around the island. But because we had friends there, because I had friends there, they took me around and they showed me everything, you know, and told me this was this and this was that. And it was just wonderful having my personal chauffeur and tour guide, you know, to give me that experience. Yeah.
So the lessons being learned, I don't judge people. Do you ever come across a situation where you feel threatened by other cultures? So I don't judge people, but do you ever find yourself in a situation where you're judging yourself based on other cultures?
I went to a conference, and it was a geography conference. And in our program, we have a lot of people from the Middle East. And I have met I have a lot of Muslim colleagues. And I have only good things to say, you know, enjoyed their company. But I remember going to this conference, and this one young lady, she's from a very strict Muslim sect. And she was wonderful, wonderful. She was my professor's student as well, you know, and former student. But it was so strange that she had to have a companion, a female companion with her wherever she went. And then there were male, I don't know if they were part of her group or what, but they were there, and wherever she went, they would walk by and keep an eye. And I'm just like, oh, that's kind of strange. You know, that's unusual. They're watching. You know, so you get a little bit nervous and you're like, why are they watching? You know. So of course we're sometimes intimidated by other cultures' mores or culture traits, you know.
Maybe you should ask your question first because I'm going in a different direction.
Okay, I wanted to follow up to that. Have you ever been intimidated, unsure? We're humans, right? And I know you want to be friends with everybody and stuff, but have you ever judged a situation and then found out that you judged it wrongly? Could you talk to us? And your last story motivated that question, where you judge a situation. I remember one time I was walking down the street and I saw a group of guys, and I was just scared to death. And when the guys passed me, they were like, "Hey, what's up? How are you?" Blah blah. And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, really?" Have you ever, been in a situation where you judged it wrongly and then realized you judged it wrongly? Could you share that situation with us, if so, and tell us the lessons?
When I first started teaching, I taught at a charter school, a middle school charter school. Many of the children had behavior challenges, and they were all taller than me. And there were some male students who were really let me tell you, they just look like they should be in high school and they should be playing football. Okay. And that was my thought in my mind. They shouldn't be here. And it was a little intimidating having them in the classroom. But then I realized once I got to know them one-on-one, they were some of the nicest. I even had one young man, he became kind of like my bodyguard. She said, sit down. Now sit down. So yeah. I was a bit intimidated by it, but I learned, give people a chance. Give them a chance.
Yeah.
Hashtag give people a chance.
Christine made two statements that I just want to draw to our attention. She said she was in Dubai the other day and noticed that the response to crime was like 1.7 seconds. So she felt very safe and felt like she could do, kind of walk in freedom. And then she's noted that the thing that got her, that there was no homelessness there. And it baffled her how a country built on sand can be this beautiful and equipped. This is the next level of globalization.
And let me follow up with Christine's question, with Christine's comment.
Could I make a comment to that very quickly?
Yes.
Okay. From someone who actually traveled and visited, not from me, but another colleague who traveled and visited the homes. There, in every city, you've got your haves and you have your have-nots. It's just part of the life. God, Jesus said we're going to always have the poor with us. From what I was told is that those who come into work in the city of Dubai, you may not see them, but this one person's experience was that they had their help living in the garage. Like how you would have maids' quarters in your home or something. They put them in the garage. That was that person's experience. So I could see where, yes, Dubai is nice. Okay. If you see pictures of that place, it's like, woo, couldn't we all just live in such a beautiful, luxurious place? But take it all with a grain of salt, There's other things.
Yeah. And it's not just that person's experience. It's well written about when where did they have was it in Qatar? They had the sports, the football World Cup the other day. Soccer. Yeah. How many people died but they were all immigrants that came to work on the stadiums. So yes, they treat the World Cup, they treat their citizens well, but they treat foreigners really bad. Question I wanted to ask.
You have to remember to say not all, but there are those who do.
No, right, of course. The question I wanted to ask you, though, to follow up to Christine's question, is for many people to follow up to Christine's comment, is that many people believe that America is the promised land, and they don't understand that my oldest daughter was reading her geography stuff the other day, and that's a part of what motivated this, is listening to her studying geography, Doc. And she was talking about the development of countries and where Europe was educationally, where United States is educationally, and then where Japan is educationally. So I'm asking you to please educate us as a people about the rest of the world, the other, and the amazing things that's happening outside of America.
Are you speaking in terms of education in other countries?
In terms of education, in terms of quality of life, in terms of medicine in Cuba, what are some of the advantages of what's happening? People talk about Canada and their socialized medicine. But my father, for example, my biological father, for example, had a really, really, really bad cancer, cured, and didn't pay a dime, and not 1 cent came out of his pocket for it, for nothing. So, talk to us a little about some of what's going on outside of the United States.
Well, from what I understand, when we talk about Japan and Japan's education system, it is amazing. It is amazing. South Korea, once again, very educated. They've got a really good school system. But with the school system also comes the stress. And with the stress comes things like high suicide rates, So they may have these wonderful schools and this wonderful school system, but there's just a different way of dealing with the different way in their society, of doing that. I've heard good and bad things about the and read of Canada's healthcare system. Some people are waiting very long before they can get to get help. So sometimes the grass isn't always greener on the other side. You know what I mean? We have a lot that we need to work on here in the US. Yes, we do. And we could definitely start with our education system. But we also have to be very grateful that this country has afforded us so much, so much. Okay, things in terms of maybe agriculture, that there are some countries that are doing great in agriculture. Before the war in Ukraine, they were pumping out.
Right, they were.
Yeah, they the US and Ukraine could feed, they feed a large percentage of the world when it comes to grain. So there's technology in those places that they're very advanced agricultural technologies to feed people. I'm thinking, you've heard of Israel. Israel's got the technology. They've got the military technology. They've got, they're doing well in terms of that. So there are other countries that are they're doing well in certain areas, but we all have our challenges then. Every country has its challenges. Yeah.
So you've talked about, this idea of learning from other cultures, other people, other places. And you've kind of talked about it both from a collective standpoint as well as from an individual standpoint. I want to go back for just a second to the individual standpoint, because I think that plays into how we do things collectively, right? So for an individual who wants to learn about the other, if you will, how can that person start that?
Well, I'll tell you, I used to love to watch National Geographic. Okay. It's the every person's introduction to the world. My professor one of my professors asked me, where does National Geographic fit into the academic part of this? And I'm like, it's the springboard, it's where you get to see all the different places in the world and you get excited about these places. You get to see the different foods, you get to see the different animals, you get to see the landscape. So that's one particular place. And you can go online. We have access, go online, look up a country.
Yes.
Just look up the country and see what's happening. Ask yourself a question about the country. What do they believe? How do they treat women in the country? What's the main religion of the country? What is their political system like? Look it up, read it, check it out. You can still go down to the library if that's what you please. You can always go to the neighborhood library and look it up as well. So just asking questions about who you are and who the other person is a starting point.
Yeah. When we open ourselves up to that kind of information as individuals, how do you see it impacting us collectively?
I'll go back to the not being so quick to judge.
Yes.
When you get to know somebody, you know, I've talked about my friends from different places, and I'll give you a couple things here. My friend from Lithuania, he loved to eat. We met in college, you know, and loved to eat. So he would come over, we would cook Sabbath lunches. He and his wife would come over and we would just chow down. And then I said, okay, you're going to fix something for me now. First thing he said is, you're not going to like my food. You're not going to like our food. I said, no, go ahead. You know, do something for us. And he did. He made, I think they call pierogies. They have different names in different parts of Europe. But he used potatoes and put the meat inside of it. After you mash the potatoes, put meat and peas in. And I'm telling you, he was right. I didn't like it. You know. But that's okay. That was okay. We had a moment. We shared a moment, you know. We shared a moment. I also have friends from Romania.
And that doesn't mean.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was saying my pastor is on his family. They're from Romania, and his wife loves to cook. You know, I'm talking a lot about food because people understand food. You know, and
food, right? Yes.
You know, she made these desserts, and they're called. Let me see if I can pronounce it correctly. Munchinellis, and it means little lies. Because when you taste one, you get this burst of deliciousness and it's gone, you know? So they're called little lies. So just seeing how much she enjoys cooking and being in the kitchen and the different foods, you know, that it just makes you want to know the person more. You want to hang around them. And something as simple as food can break down the barriers so that you can actually get to know the person. You know, you can get to know the person. And as you get to know the person, so now you're personal. When I think of people in Romania, of course, you know, everybody's not the same. But when I think of people in Romania, at least I'm going to start on a positive note in my mind. You know, they good food. You know, I'm going to start on a positive note in my mind.
You know, it's funny that you talked about food, and you said that food, you know, you said it was a simple thing, but you know, we did a missions class for when I did my master's in pastoral ministry. Our missions class, Dr. Andrew, I'm not remembering Dr. Andrew's last name now. He was a missionary to India, and what he shared with us was that how he communicated, how he was able to reach the Indian people of complete, you know, a complete difference, you know, a complete different religion, was through food, was through experiencing them through food. Right. And so I think that food is such a well, you know, they say it's the secret to a man's heart. And I think maybe it's not just a man, but humanity's heart. Is that food is a good conversation starter, a good
Yes.
way to get to know people. What did Christine say?
Christine made the statement, when you know someone, you're better able to understand them and communications are better. And
Yes.
just a note again on the food aspect. Food is universal.
Right. Everybody eats.
We all eat. We all enjoy different brands, flavors, approaches. And so it's a universal language where we can come together and it creates some intimacy and connection, right?
Right.
Yes.
If I'm
Yes.
getting my hands on something and you're there and with me, there's something about that experience that is bonding.
But even eating it.
Absolutely.
You're opening, you're chewing, you're, you know.
Right. But it's that interaction as we're working together towards a main goal, which can be really instructive in terms of how do we get along as people? How do we get to know each other as people? How do we get to know our differences, things that we value, the value of this seasoning over this seasoning? How do we learn what each other values in these interactive moments?
All right, Cece has a question. How does the environment, physical environment you grow up in, impact the person you become?
Well, that's a really interesting question. Thank you for asking that. There are a lot of different avenues I guess I could take with this particular one. I was going to mention something. I think I can still use this here. There's a young lady who's become a very close friend of mine at the church. She is part of the Karen people from Burma, Myanmar. And they're what we would call like a stateless nation, not having their own place because of war and turmoil. And I got to talk with her this past Sabbath at the table and her grandma. They stayed for potluck. And when we talked, I was talking about environment, the physical environment that you're in. When you have to leave a place, you are put out or because of circumstances of whether it is the physical environment that has changed or the political environment that has changed, and you are placed into a new physical, cultural, the climate's different. The whole 9 yards is just different. You can embrace your new environment and learn, to get along. But early Americans thought that when people would come to the United States, they would just assimilate. Okay. The early founders thought they would assimilate. That really didn't happen. What we had was a culturation, which is where we took bits and pieces of different cultures and added it to our own. Right. And I think with my friend who's a part of the Karen people, her culture is now going to be blended with our American culture. So what she had back in Burma, what she knew back then, what her family knew back then, the foods that they ate, that's a part of the physical environment. She can bring that with her here, and she can share that with the rest of us. She doesn't just, you get to the coast, you get to the airport and you drop all your culture and you come in and you pick up the culture here. It doesn't work like that. So our environment in terms of the physical environment is a part of us, and we carry it with us in different ways. And we share it with our new, the new area space that we're now in.
We're out of time. I told you it was going to go by fast, and I told you it was going to be fun. But I need to ask you this though. So I'm walking away tonight. Don't judge people. Give people a chance. Let me ask you this quick follow-up question. You gotta take 30 seconds to answer it though. So you ate the food of your friend and it wasn't perfect. How did you respond? How do you respond if you're dealing with another culture and whatever it is that they're doing is not comforting? It's not
palpable to you.
Right. How do you deal with that?
Honestly, be honest, because they may bring it again. and they think you like it,
Say, I don't like your food.
you simply say, be nice about it. You know, that was not what I was expecting it to taste like. And I'm not quite liking that. You know, I'm not enjoying that. Maybe we could try something else. You know, maybe you can introduce me to something else.
So be honest. It's in the how I'm honest.
Yeah. And I think what I hear Doc saying from that as well is kind of alluding to authenticity in our relationships. Because I don't like or appreciate something the same way somebody else doesn't mean that we can't have relationships.
It doesn't mean I don't appreciate you.
Right.
All right. And I love what Cece echoed you. Try something else. Doc, I'm asking you to give me for dummies. Give me Meet New People for Dummies. This section of the program is called Meet New People for Dummies. Give me 1, 2, 3. What do I need to do? 1, 2, 3.
Be willing to go up to somebody in a safe place, of course, in a safe space, and introduce yourself. Introduce yourself. Say hi.
Yeah.
I'm Nichole. Who are you and where are you from? You know, just talk.
Cece says, be open-minded.
Yes.
Dr. Bignall, thank you so much for spending this hour with us. We were off to a late start. It's 8 o'clock here. It's 9 o'clock there. And pastoral ministry here is a little bit different from where I'm coming from. So we were actually out with, anyway, I was working. But thank you all so much for hanging on. We want to say thanks to everyone. Christine just said, therefore, our expectation may not always align, but we can meet each other partway. Very good. That was
exactly.
Perfect.
Very nice. Very nice. I just want to say thank you all for having me. And thank you for all my friends who came on as well.
Absolutely.
Don't go anywhere yet, though, anybody. I know we're over time, but 1 second. And again, can you hashtag meet each other partway? I think that was really good. Meet each other partway. Yes, we really, really appreciate everyone that came on, and we want to give you a gift. We thank you all so much for coming on. But let me ask you a big favor. Those of you that came on, would you please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel? Please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We'll be so grateful to have some more new people on. But we have a gift for you. Our gift is going to be a gift card for you to go shop in our store. And so we're going to, Annika is going to spin our wheel. We're going to have a little drum roll and finger drum roll and see who is our winner tonight. She disappeared. She's coming back, though.
Now, as she's doing that, I do want to encourage you. We'll have one winner tonight of this gift card, but that doesn't mean that if you're on, that you can't be a winner in your own way. So we want to encourage you to head on to our website, www.kwministries.net, and you can be a winner too. Rosabelle Martin.
Sister Martin is a winner. Congratulations, Sister Martin. We are so excited that you are a winner tonight. Thank you so very much, Sister Martin. You know what to do. She's going to put it up on the screen. But sis, I know that you brought some visitors with you. I want to tell them thanks for coming. So I'm going to put the burden on you to choose one of your visitors, and we'll have a second winner. Because I don't do that to me. I make friends.
Well, I did see that Roxanne actually commented.
Yes, she did. Yes, she did. Yes, she did.
So I know she's
Roxanne is Roxanne White Martin. Morin, I'm sorry. Roxanne White declared our second winner tonight. We thank you so very much. There she is. It's you, Roxanne. So all you have to do is go to kwministries.net and claim your prize. Fill out the form there. We will get in touch with you. Sister Rosabelle, where's Sister Rosabelle at? Please go to claim your prize, kwministries.net, claim your prize, and we will get in touch with you.
Yes.
And we will take care of you. Thank you so very much for coming on. Dr. Bignall, this has been such an inspirational, enlightened. Don't judge people. I love your story about the students where at first you felt intimidated, but then you got to know them and they became some of the sweetest people you would know. And I think if we go through life with that, and that's the reason why I want to do it, if we could go through life with that idea that just because I don't know someone doesn't mean they're bad. Just because we don't talk the same language, or we don't look the same way, and we didn't even talk about religion, or we don't believe the same way, doesn't mean they're bad. Let's be willing to affirm each other's humanity before anything else. Thank you so much, Dr. Bignall.
Thank you all. Love you.
Love you more. Would you please give Wes and the rest of the family our love?
Same here, right back at you. All right.
All right. Take care. Thanks, everybody, for coming on. Next week, Monday night, we'll have more fun.